Congressman Mike Gallagher, Republican from Wisconsin, member of the Armed Services Committee and an Iraq War veteran in focus now. Congressman, thank you for being with me. You heard those numbers, and I wanted to get an idea of just how many civilians were left in the capital, Kyiv, because we know Putin is now, from our own U.S. intelligence, going to do anything to take that city.
Well, thousands and thousands of Ukrainians are still in a very precarious position. We tried to get a precise estimate yesterday in open testimony and in classified testimony. I think the honest answer is we don't know. But I think it should be a reminder that we are still in the very early stages of this. And though the Ukrainians have put up an incredibly brave resistance, the Russian military throughout its modern history has proven quite good at absorbing losses and moving forward. And Putin is a KGB thug who thinks human life is cheap. So this idea that the Biden administration is going around already touting this as a success is premature. And even in the best case scenario, if Ukrainians maintain their brave resistance, the fact is deterrence failed in this case. We failed to deter Putin because we relied solely on sanctions and tweets. We did not put hard power, sufficient hard power in his path. We need to understand that. We need to understand why we delayed lethal assistance to Ukraine, why we abandoned the Black Sea, why we launched this war on American energy that was a gift to Putin. Because if we don't learn the lessons from that failure, I fear we're doomed to repeat it in other parts of the world, that a country like China will take advantage of us while we're distracted, while we're weak, or while we're too preoccupied with woke domestic priorities. This is an important issue. We want to do everything we can to support the people of Ukraine, but also learn the right lessons of deterrence failure for future conflict.
Former warrior yourself, I'm curious to know your estimation of what it would take to get Putin to actually hold a ceasefire. President Zelensky of Ukraine reportedly has agreed to some sort of ceasefire with the Russian military. I don't even know how that works out when none of them are holding, and this one is supposed to hold for 12 hours.
Well, a few things. First, we have to maintain this increased and expedited stream of lethal assistance. There are still missile systems, body armor, sniper rifles that the Ukrainians need. Without that hard power on the ground, the Ukrainians don't have a good negotiating position, and that's still in a precarious stage. So we're doing a ban on Russian oil. But here's the thing. As we do this global economic war against Putin, which I support, we cannot maintain the war on domestic American oil and gas production. That is the fatal flaw in our approach right now. The president's going around the world begging Venezuela, potentially Iran, to produce. You know where he's not going? Texas, Pennsylvania, Louisiana. We've effectively had sanctions on our own domestic producers for the past year. We need to lift the sanctions on American oil and gas. That's how you undermine Putin really strategically over the long term, by unleashing the power of American energy.
You know, I saw what you did there. You tied in where we are exactly in this moment with what we can do about oil, because it also sends that message to Putin is, you know what, they're willing to suffer in order for something to change. Does that make that country, meaning America, look maybe a little bit more unpredictable, which that's what we need in this instance? We have a president who forecasts everything he's going to take off the table and everything he's not going to do. We don't even have the leverage of surprise. You mentioned Russian oil, and I want to get into it more now. Some of the Republicans are accusing President Biden's reversal on Russian oil of being a political ploy, that the president is also taking a lot of heat for this. Let's watch together.
It's going to go up. Can't do much right now. Russia's responsible.
Congressman Gallagher, you just told us what all can be done at this point. The president actually thinks only Putin is to blame for the spike in gas prices. The numbers tell a very different story. They're on the big wall now. Since the day Biden took office, Americans have been paying $1.83 more for a gallon of regular unleaded gas. But Democrats don't seem concerned about how much pain Americans actually feel. Let's watch together.
What has been the reaction of your colleagues to, things like diplomatic outreach to countries like Venezuela and Saudi Arabia in terms of increasing the global oil supply?
Yeah, that issue hasn't come up, but I think increasing the global oil supply at the moment, to the extent that there are implications, particularly for Europe, which is more heavily reliant upon Russian oil than we are here in the United States of America. is an important discussion.
I mean, it's like watching somebody throw a sponge at the wall and missing the wall. Like, there's such a disconnect. Why?
Well, gas prices were skyrocketing prior to the outbreak of war in Ukraine. So for the president to blame it on Putin's invasion, which obviously has contributed to the energy crisis, but the crisis predates the invasion. And the fact is, the incontrovertible fact is, on day one, when Biden took office, he launched this war on domestic production. He canceled the Keystone Pipeline. He put a bunch of radicals in at FERC. And oh, by the way, Democratic donors on Wall Street launched a global ESG campaign, which has made investing in energy in America toxic. It's been incredibly counterproductive. That's what's been driving up prices and also been putting us in a weak geopolitical position. Now, Harris, if you add on to this absurdity with Russia, the fact that this administration is contemplating reviving the Iran deal, well, they may start to justify that by saying we need to bring Iranian crude onto the international market. Don't pay attention to the fact that they're the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. They're close to getting a nuclear weapon. And oh, by the way, they win in this deal, Russia wins, and China wins in an Iran deal. It makes absolutely no sense. And the fatal flaw in their approach is that the administration is still being held hostage by the climate change lobby led by the high priest of climate change, John Kerry, and it's undermining our national security.
I don't understand how they could be more frightening than a madman who is literally razing an entire neighboring country. Killing everybody in it would be his potential if he thought that was a win. That's what our intel is telling us. How can the politics of the far left be more frightening than that? Backbone, imagination. We've had guests say it. Representative Gallagher, always great to have you in focus. Thank you.
Thank you.